Um, so I'm just gonna explain this very quickly. I on Facebook. I'm in a sort of group with a bunch of other teachers from I mean all over. I mean I think there's somebody in there from I think there's a couple Canadian teachers in there, and a lot of them are from California, but I think that's just because California is big, and so most, if you sample a certain size of America, then there's going to be mostly there's going to be an abnormal amount of Californians, because it's the sample of this there's more. Okay, so anyway, I was in it's a group on Facebook, and I know nobody uses Facebook anymore. It's kind of so I feel so. A lot of the students make fun of me, and if I ever talk to even now some older people, when I talk to them and I say, "Oh, I saw this on Facebook," and they're like, nobody uses Facebook anymore. But I think, but and I mean, I don't know. I don't care if nobody uses it. It's just, it's just fun. I mean, I don't even really think about it that much. I'm not very active on there. I just go on there and it's just something that's, I mean, I just go in there and for just killing time and just, I mean, I don't know if it's throughout the day, I'll go on Facebook and, I just look at stuff real quick, and then, and I hardly ever, I don't, I mean, sometimes I'll post on, if it's in the teacher group, and I'll, if it's an interesting sort of discussion, sometimes I'll say, I don't know. I mean, I remember back when there was, oh my God, what was it? There is this this incredibly dramatic day on there, and I wish I could remember exactly what it was, because the way that she phrased it was so insane. I can't even really remember what it was about, or when this happened. But it was when, what was that really big sort of teaching controversy that happened when there was something to it was something to do with, and maybe I shouldn't even bring this up because it's probably controversial, and maybe that might not be a good idea, but she was just all, I'm trying to remember what it was, because it was something that even, I think, they had to sort of, after this incident, they had to sort of crack down and be like, this is supposed to be, the group is supposed to be for jokes, and not, you don't want to get, because it was political, sort of, and that started a big argument. And so then the whole discussion was, should this be, should we, I mean, because it's an interesting, I mean, I guess I thought it was interesting. I think that there was people who definitely took it too far, but it was a lively discussion, so, and I think that it's just some people go on Facebook and social media and things for different reasons. And so some people go on there and they're just looking for something funny they're not, but other people go on there and they like to, like, I think I've always been that type of person where I'm sort of very, I like to sort of, have these kind of, I'm not somebody who's going to get uncomfortable at the slightest little, if there's some people get so uncomfortable if there's any discord, or disharmonious kind of, what's the word for that, when there's, when you're having a conversation and then there's an argument, or somebody's just, I'm not somebody, I know there are some people who really don't like that, who try to surround themselves with, who try to avoid that sort of thing and avoid getting into any heated emotional debate about stuff like that. But I'm not, I mean, I'm able to sort of separate my feelings from it, and I can be pretty good about, getting, just having a conversation like that, and then it's not it's not like I'm gonna take. I've met some people who get really upset in conversations like that, and then they just completely, it ruins the whole night, or they it just becomes a whole personal thing, and so that can be. I had a friend who used to be like that, and it was so exhausting, because it was like every single thing had to be this litigated debate, and not only a debate, but it was like every single thing was very personal, and so you couldn't debate about one particular thing or another because then it was like, it was like you were making a whole, statement about how your friendship and your all that stuff. So anyway, I'm sort of getting off track here, and I apologize. I'm gonna keep this pretty short. I'm gonna try because it was just so I am in a group on Facebook that is sort of me and a bunch of other teachers from all over, all over the country, and we when you're a teacher, definitely there are certain things that you're gonna find funny that maybe people who aren't teachers wouldn't find funny, because they're not a teacher. I hope this isn't gonna be one of those things, but I feel like it is because it's anyway. Usually I check that group before, well, I guess I check it throughout the day. There's not really a specific time there is a specific time that I check. I usually check once in the morning, and then at lunch, and then before bed, and sometimes if I don't have anything, if there's nothing going on between school and bed, or dinner rather, then I'll check it in that sort of window of time. And I was so frustrated because this was so funny, and I couldn't find. It was one of those times where I saw it, and then immediately I thought it was funny, but then immediately it refreshed the page, and then it was completely gone, and I couldn't find it anymore. And that's such a bummer, because I keep trying to explain it to people, and I feel like I'm not doing it right, or I feel like it just gets I can see people's eyes glaze over, and I'm like, no, if you saw, I'm not explaining it right. If you saw the original, what it was, I wish I could have saved it and sent it. They really need to make a way to, because it was a picture, so it wasn't like I could search. I was trying to remember what, and it was the lady who posted it with some really generic caption that was like, oh, this is, isn't this funny? I tried to type in, oh, is this funny? Because I'm trying to find you can't search a picture. So I've been trying to find it by trying to remember what the person who posted his name was, and remember what they said in the caption. And I feel like I have. I'm pretty sure that I remember what it was, but maybe they deleted it. I don't know, because the problem with when I just talked about the lady who was brought up that whole sort of political debate. I wish I could remember what it was. I really can't, because I feel like that would add a lot to the story. But it was something to do with teachers who this something controversial, and basic. I guess it doesn't really matter what it was, because in general what ended coming from it was the moderators said they sort of had to put their foot down and say, we don't want political sort of stuff in here. We don't want anything that's getting too into political stuff here. This is supposed to be just for jokes and lighthearted conversation, and stuff about, and just not stuff that's not too intense. And then it was weird, because it was like, well, they who gets to decide what, sort of like I said earlier, who gets to decide when there's, if something is too controversial for one person or another. It might be, some people have different, I might think something, and this happens all the time, where I think something is funny, but to other people, maybe not necessarily. They think it's kind of that, it could be, people just have different sensibilities about things, and they it's some people are just more so I think I even said this a couple of times on the, there were people who, you can, on Facebook, you can type in you can do like a where you post, but it's not it's like you're commenting on somebody's post. So I think that I even said that on that post. I said, well, who's the, who's going to be deciding who's making the decision for what is who is making the decision? What if something is, basically my point was, it seems like it would be very easy for some people to have an opinion about what if there's something that's one that people don't, that there's one person who's, if somebody feels like that some people have different opinions about about whether or not about if you should be able to joke about something versus not. And then if somebody feels like it's more controversial, people just feel differently about if topics that you can, if one person jokes about something and some people don't, then it doesn't necessarily mean that you can, then it might be more, some people just have different sensibilities about that. And you might say one thing that's okay. Anyway, I said that in the where you can that's where you type where you respond to the post. And so I said that in the response. And I'm trying to remember if anybody responded to me. I think I got a couple people liked it, but I can't, I'm honestly, I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look at, regardless, that was sort of my point, was who is the one who is kind of deciding and I wish that I could remember what this was even all about, because I feel like that it was one of those things where it's not even necessarily that it was that controversial. It's just that it was like, and that was sort of, I think, why I said something about it, because I remember not thinking that it was that controversial when I saw it, and then all of a sudden, it was like in the morning I went on and I looked and I saw that it was, and I saw it and I thought it was funny. I mean, of course it was like, it's going to be it was one of those subjects that it might be, some people might have different opinions about whether or not it's if there's some people, if some people are going to feel, it's not going to sort of be the same for everybody. Some different things are going to mean different things to different people. God, I feel like I'm so close to remembering what it was, but it was just one of those things where anyway, the post was something. Okay, I got way off track here. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. So there was a post on this Facebook group, that was sort of like when it's like there's multiple, it was like 3 or 4 different panels, and it was like a comic strip. So I'm going to try to explain it as best I can, but that's sort of the problem, is that I haven't been able to find it, and it's a visual thing, and so trying to explain it really just doesn't. But basically it was like there's sort of that whole stereotype when, teaching and about doing your, I'm sure everybody's heard that sort of when people say like, oh, a dog ate my homework or something, that's old, sort of that goes way back. And when, people say, so for instance, if I asked a student, where's your homework, they might say maybe they didn't do it, or they don't know where it is, or they lost it, which happens all the time. I mean, these days it's a little bit more, it's funny because this thing that I'm describing, you probably couldn't even, you couldn't even say it nowadays because everything's on the computer now, so the only way for somebody to, basically the thing that people sometimes will say is, a dog ate my homework, right? And that's kind of funny because it, I mean, I'm maybe, I wonder even if too, maybe the first person The first person, I wonder if the first person who ever said that, if a dog actually did eat their homework. I'm sure that there has been many times where dogs have actually eaten people's homework, and it's just that they don't, that would be funny too if there was like a guy whose dog did eat his homework, and he was trying to, and then the next day, that could be a comic strip too, if it was like the dog, the dog is like eating the homework in the first thing, and then in the second one he comes into this, he would come into the school the next day, and then the teacher would be like, and the student might say to the teacher, what happened to your homework? And then the student would say, my dog, teacher, you're not going to believe this, but my dog ate my homework. And then the teacher would be like, oh yeah, okay, sure. But the funny part would be that a dog really did eat his homework, and that would be, I think that's hilarious. I mean, I don't know how you would, I'm not really a comedian, so I don't know how you could. I'm sure there would be a way to make that into a little like scenario that's funny. I feel like I did when I sort of over explained it, but I think that it would be funny if a and it doesn't sound funny. It's not funny the way that I'm explaining it, but I feel like it just was. It's sort of like it would be a funny. That's not even the joke. I apologize. The joke was okay. So the joke is, take that scenario, and imagine that there's a teacher the teacher says, did you do your, did you, the teacher's, I don't feel very good. The teacher asked the scenario was that the teacher asked the student, where's your homework? That was the first one. The first panel was the teacher asked, did you do your homework? And the teacher was like, did you do your homework? Like scolding the student. Sorry, I don't know why I feel like so lightheaded. I don't feel good. And then the second panel was the student. I'm trying to. I can't even remember what it was. I don't know why I don't feel good. I don't feel good. The student asked, did you do your homework? The teacher asked if he did. Did you do your homework? And the student said, did you? The student asked if he did it, if the teacher's. So the first panel is the teacher saying, did you do your homework? Did you do your homework? Where's your homework? And then the second is the student, and he's like, yes, I did it. Yes. And then in the next panel after the student is a girl with blonde, another person in this, another student is in the classroom, and she says, yeah, yes, like this, and then it's the student who's blonde. It says that my student is named it was her name is homework. So it was, and then so it was like, I think I didn't explain it right. I think that the first panel is this this just say there's I forgot that the joke is that this girl's name is homework, and the student is like, I did homework. Yeah, I did homework. Did you do your homework? I did homework. And that her name's homework, so it was like he did. But then there was also a part about a desk that I think, yeah, it was, so the joke is supposed to be that I did my homework on the desk. I did homework. I did the say, like, the student did his the student did the students is did his homework. Did homework on the student's homework. Yeah, student does it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Does guys.